What? What? Why? Why, hello, my dudes. Still Floor Gang, going strong. Today, I'm going to talk about Riverdale because I think a lot of people left or didn't make it through season 3. I did. It was awful, and now we're at season 4, and I watched season 4, and I have, can you guess it, opinions. Let's talk about it. A ton was happening. I don't know what that was. A ton was happening in season 4, but nothing was happening in season 4. Like, there was no cohesive plot, but there was like 20 different subplots going on at once, and they could have correlated together, but did they? No. No, they did not. I'm going to talk about different things. Right now I want to talk about the films. That was underdeveloped, my dude. They could have done something with that, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, like you haven't watched season 4, there are these films that someone, we don't know who, is sending to every like house in Riverdale, and it's just hours of footage of their house, and it's creepy. You know, someone sent me, like, just left a tape on my doorstep of my house being filmed for like 6 hours straight. I would be a little concerned. You know, that's pretty creepy. But they didn't do anything with it. It was kind of just there. And it's like, I'm glad they didn't really mention season 3 because I hated season 3 because it was trash. I thought I was stupid. Like, season 3 made me feel stupid because it was so weird and complicated that I thought that, like, I was missing something, and I talked to other people and they're like, oh, no, you're not stupid. It was just really weird. It's like they knew it was a mistake and they didn't want to acknowledge that it existed. You know what I mean? And I'm glad about that, but we also have to acknowledge that a show shouldn't have to completely, like, not really acknowledge the previous season. Like, it didn't really build off of that season at all, except with, like, Charles and Chick. Oh, we need to talk about that. First of all, they had a relationship. Like, they're an item. They are a thing. And they didn't do anything with that. And I was like, bro, like, we need to know, like, is Charles somehow doing the films, and because Chick wanted him to do it for some reason we don't know about? Like, there was nothing, no development between those two. Charles just goes to prison one day, and we find out that he and Chick are a couple, and I'm just like, are we not gonna, like, talk about this except for, like, that 1-second scene? Like, I don't know. Throughout the season, them acting like season 3 didn't really happen except for, like, a couple of things, you know? I think what they did take from season 3 made sense, but again, underdeveloped, and it was just like a bunch of different plots that weren't cohesive and weren't, like, brought together. I think you could have brought them together in some really creative way. Did they? No. Am I surprised? No, I'm not. No, I'm not surprised. I don't get why Betty would still be friends with, I forget what his name is, but, like, why would you still be friends with him when he, like, did all of that weird stuff to you? Like, he totally betrayed you.
You mean like when you dragged me by my ankles to get a lobotomy?
Yeah,
And it's not like the farm's fault. No, it's because he decided to join the farm. And I know that, like, they keep playing off this idea that, like, oh, he was brainwashed or whatever. And I get that he betrays Betty later in the season, but it's just like, you should have saw that coming. He's almost responsible for you almost dying. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't get it. One other thing, okay. Well, not one other thing. I got a ton of things I need to talk about. Okay, so Jughead's dad is the sheriff or whatever. He is such a bad sheriff. He has like that one scene where he actually does like something kind of cop-like.
Everybody go home. Go home, move. Jughead, boy, you better not be drinking whatever's in that cup.
Everything else, like, there is just as much crime going on in Riverdale as before. He didn't do anything at all. I think he did something. I was about to say did something for the Serpents, but they're not even around anymore. But, like, did he really do anything as sheriff? Because, like, in the Thanksgiving episode, didn't someone die? And then he was, like, off that day. You know, it was just kind of weird. Like, the whole, like, him being sheriff, I thought he would do something that would be, like, cool. Instead of Archie doing this community center thing, wouldn't, like, he be more involved in it than Archie? Just some thoughts. So, Veronica, her character, I feel like, is one of the most consistent characters. I feel like in every season, it seems like the main issues or plot surrounding her have to do with like her correlation with her dad and how she does have an obsession with him. She doesn't want to be like him, but she kind of is like him. You know what I mean? And it creates this really weird dynamic because she has a lot of money and is trying to like outdo him with her maple rum. I don't even know what it is anymore by the end of the season, like some kind of rum business. And then no matter what it is, she's always trying to like prove that she's not him, but also proves that she's a lot like him in the process. And I feel like that's just that's her whole deal. That's her whole role in this show, is to like show that she's not her dad, but also proves how much she is like her dad while doing that. She does have a lot of daddy issues. Ooh.
Daddy, 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 daddy's daddy, 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 daddy's daddy, 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 daddy's daddy, father. You're diagnosing me with daddy issues?
She's a very calculated person, which is cool. That's all I got. I don't really particularly like her. Like, she has her moments, but I feel like at the end of the day, if she didn't have the money, then like all of the things that she's able to do for her friends like would just be erased, and you'd just be left with this person who's like has a lot of like issues with her dad. Which I think a lot of people can relate to. Not the exact issues, because most of us aren't just millionaires from existing, you know, we're not trust fund babies, but relating to this idea that we don't want to be like our parents, so we end up being a lot like them. I feel like that's a whole Riverdale idea that they don't really seem to know well enough. I feel like they should know that that's a big theme, and they don't really do anything with it. And what they do with it is they kind of just hollow out Veronica's character, and that's all she is. I feel it's just kind of weird to me that they don't, like, Veronica doesn't feel fully fleshed out, even though she's the most consistent. I feel like that's just because they don't give her enough to do, whereas like Betty and Jughead are given like too much to do, and then Archie is just kind of thrown in there to figure it out. That's how I feel. Speaking of Archie, Archie in the community center, like, they didn't take that plot line really anywhere. It was there. Like, all of the different elements of season 4, they were just there. I think the community center should have been like a huge plot point for Archie's character, because Archie's dad died. Spoiler alert, first episode. And it's mentioned a couple of times throughout the season that this community center was what he being his dad would have wanted. And I think that the writers should have taken that and just run with it, and that would be the whole point of the community center, is that Archie's obsession with wanting to do something that his dad would be proud of. I think they should have just run with that, okay? But they didn't. It ended up just being like a weird thing where like Archie becomes like a superhero for a second. Like he kind of looks like if the Flash had a really giant crisis or did not have enough money to make a proper suit. Like that's just that's my feelings. I don't like, I get that Archie becomes a vigilante kind of for like a quick second, but at the same time I feel like it should have been rooted more, and the audience should have been taken into Archie's mind more of it's something that his dad would have wanted or his dad would have approved of, and that's why it was such a big deal. But they didn't. Now let's talk about Tony. Okay, she needs to get out of that house with Cheryl. Okay, Cheryl needs to be hospitalized. Okay, she needs help. I'm just putting that out there. Like sis, like you dug up your brother and put him in the chapel with a creepy doll, and you're saying that that creepy doll is also like the spirit of Julian.
Tony, you never met Jason, have you?
And then, like, I still don't know who was moving the doll. No, wait a minute, that's a lie. It was Cheryl's mom or whatever, which I don't even know why she's still around. They could kill her and it wouldn't matter. Like, no one would know, but whatever. Why isn't Cheryl's brother decomposed? I don't understand that at all. Like, if you've been dead that long, you should be decomposing or have been decomposed a little bit. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get that. Like, you can't just sew up a dead body and then that means that they won't decompose. It just means a rat won't come out of them, I guess, but whatever. Tony, only, not consistent, because I think Veronica is consistent, but she's like the only sane character where I feel like, you know, she's had a rough go. The world has not been nice to her at all, but oh my god, like, she needs to get out of that house. I know I said that before. She actually has like a sane person's mentality, that she's sane, okay? All these other people are not, okay? All, like, the main four, they're not sane. None of them are stable at all. Like, I feel like Archie's mom is also one of the only sane people. Archie's mom and Tony, sane. They're sane, okay? Everyone else, they need to, like, calm down. Speaking of Cheryl and Tony and Jughead and Betty and Archie and Veronica and every other couple in this show, they have a lot of sex. I feel weird saying that because I'm not shaming them at all. I think as long as there's consent, I don't have a problem. It's just that these people are my age. Like, we are literally the exact same age. It's their senior year, it's my senior year, okay? And I can tell you, I know no one who has, like, sex this much, or at least, like, there's 3, like, main couples. Like, to me, it seems a little bit weird how often they're able to do it without, like, not doing, like, homework or not doing whatever. Like, Betty is going on the train to see Jughead all the time. Like, does she have any time to do anything besides, like, trying not to get killed and, like, being with Jughead? Like, I just think it's kind of weird how often they're able to do it, because I just feel like if it's people my age, I just feel like they wouldn't have time for it, or they, like, wouldn't be able to get away with it as much, because they have, like, nice parents with the exception of Cheryl. Like, they all have nice parents, okay, who care about them, not including murderer Black Hood fathers, but that taking that into account, that would mean that they wouldn't be able to do this much. And I get that there's kind of like this weird freak out session with Betty's mom when she finds like the birth control pills or whatever in Betty's room and like practice safe sex. I don't know. But I just think it's weird how like Betty just so casually says like, well, wouldn't you know that we're having sex? Like, I sleep in the same bed as him. And I'm like, whoa. For the most part, I mean, I know people who've had like sleepovers with other people, and as long as there's consent, I don't have a problem. But this often, I think, is unrealistic, and I get that the whole show is unrealistic. I just want to point that out because I feel like the only reason I'm still watching and a lot of people, like other people, are watching is because of the relationships that are in the show and how like we want to see how those relationships turn out, and the plot is just kind of whatever. But in Riverdale, there's 20 different plots, so that's a problem. Speaking of relationships, Betty and Archie, what the hell was that? What? Why? No one asked for that. No one asked for that, ever. I don't know what's going on, but the Riverdale writers, the Riverdale crew, the Riverdale cast, we all know that Bughead, you can't touch it. You cannot touch Bughead or you're going to upset angry fans, okay? You're gonna upset us, okay? Because we're angry now, and you've already scared a lot of people off with whatever was going on in season 3, and you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, Betty and Archie, we're not even gonna deal with Bughead or whatever. Why? They would never kill off Jughead. Never. Okay? They wouldn't do that because he's too valuable. Cole Sprouse, okay? Alright? He is the, like, pillar of the show. He's the foundation of the show. If you take Jughead out, no one's gonna watch the show anymore. I would stop watching the show. If they said, oh yeah, Cole Sprouse, he's not gonna be in the show anymore. He's doing a sequel to 5 Feet Apart called 7 Feet Apart. I'll be like, I'm out. I am out. You see the door? I am out. Out the door. Because that's the only part of the show that I find interesting because Jughead is consistent. Okay? He's consistent. He sticks to his morals, alright? He would not cheat on Betty. And I know there was that weird thing with Tony or whatever, but we're not going to talk about that. Because Jughead and Betty, they're it. Do I think that Jughead deserves better? Yeah, but Betty's cool, so I'm okay with it. But, like, they can't kill him off. They just can't, because that would ruin the show and no one would watch it. And the fact that they have the audacity to like tease that Betty and Archie are going to have this thing anymore, are going to start having this thing, no. No. You cannot do that. Don't do that to me. No. Also, like, Betty hasn't told, I was about to say Cole Sprouse, hasn't told Jughead that they've had this kind of weird thing, and Archie hasn't told Veronica either, and it's just like, my guy, you gotta tell him at some point. That's all I want to talk about. The couples and stuff. I'm over it. I don't want to talk about it anymore because it's giving me a little, I'm getting a little worried for season 5, if there's going to be a season 5, that they're going to just ruin the show and have them be together. You know? No. The Glee episodes, I skip those. I'm gonna be real with you though. I just don't like the Glee episodes. I think most people don't like the Glee episodes. I don't understand why we have the Glee episodes, because we don't need them. I think the Glee episodes should be replaced by Sabrina crossovers, because they're in the same universe, and The Flash does this. It's like every 8th episode, there's a crossover with Supergirl or Green Lantern or something. I get like that whole DC Comics or whatever genre of comics that is, or whatever. My point is that they have a crossover episode, and for me, Riverdale needs to accept they can't do music in this show. It doesn't, like, they're talented, it's just some of them aren't. Why don't I like the Glee episodes? Well, they don't add to the plot, and I get bored. I don't like the singing, I don't like the songs. I think they should be replaced by Sabrina crossover episodes, because they're in the same universe. It makes sense. The Flash has done the same thing. You know, they need to accept it, that they can't do music in Riverdale, as shown by the weird Veronica scene in like the 1st or 2nd episode. Oh my god.
And all that jazz, that jazz.
Finally, my last point on my notes. Mr. Honey. Okay, I did a little vlog moment in my bedroom about Mr. Honey. That sounded really weird. I promise it's not. I'm gonna show that right now.
And like, I'm making a prediction that the principal, Mr. Honey, whatever, he's gonna be the villain. The creepy principal, like, just smashed up his car, and it's like, that's illegal. And I get that, like, he messed up your office, but that doesn't mean that you can smash a student's car. But this is Riverdale, so.
I thought he was going to be like the main villain. Was he? No, because there was like 50 minor villains that like didn't do anything villainy. You know, I'm like, well, what's gonna happen? I don't understand. And then like when they disagree with something he does, Betty's like, let's kill him. And like the group doesn't respond, like they don't even like blink an eye. They're just like, yeah, that seems reasonable, like that's a reasonable suggestion to disagreeing with your principal. And then at the end, after like Jughead has come back and the writers don't know what to do anymore, even more than before, there's this weird Mr. Honey story going on where like Jughead's writing the story, and then like there's what's actually happening in the series. I got confused, my dudes. I got confused like which one was which, because they were so similar, and I don't understand the point of it. Again, this whole thing, this whole paradox that there's too much happening but there's not enough happening. It's just like, pick a plot, my dudes, pick a plot, okay? Instead of having like these 20 different subplots that don't even go anywhere, just 20 different plots in general that just like they don't correlate, they're not cohesive, and it just ends up being all over the place, and I end up watching hours of cringe compilations because those were funnier than the actual show. Just saying. That's all my thoughts. I hope all of you guys are healthy and are doing great, and I will see you guys in the next one. I wanted to say something clever or funny, but nothing came to mind. Alright, bye guys.